It's a short week for the Mountaineers as they head west to take on the BYU Cougars on Friday night. We're here to break down the matchup today on the Walk Thru GameDay Show.
Look at what happens when you're consistent, again, in all three phases of the game. Look at what happens when you're focused and you don't have the mental breakdown and the MAs that prevent you from doing exactly what they did in Stillwater.
Rich Rodriguez has a strong backing. Ken Kendrick, Pat McAfee, Ike Morris, so on and so forth. There's a lot of people with deep pockets that are ready to help this football team win.
Your lightning in the bottle guy is your lightning in your bottle guy. So sometimes you can't put him in that role because he's going to get beat up and nicked up throughout the course of the game, which does take away from his flashiness and his ability to make big plays.
Give me the Mountaineers, baby.
Yeah, this rivalry it's a lot of fun. It has to keep going.
Let's go Mountaineers all day, every day. Let's go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Walk Thru GameDay Show presented by West Virginia on SI. I'm Schuyler, Callihan. That is my partner in crime, Eugene Napoleon, West Virginia legendary running back. And as always, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube page here at West Virginia on SI. A look at our show rundown for today. Can Khalil Wilkins be the guy? We've seen a little flash from him on Saturday against the Utah Utes. Is he the guy this week? Is he the guy moving forward for the Mountaineers? We'll talk about that. A national championship by year 5. Rich Rod says it's possible. We'll talk about that as well. We have our trivia question of the week, as always. Napoleon's Dynamite, players to watch, game preview, and we'll end the show, as always, with our Pick'ems segment. So, Eugene, it's officially the halfway point. At least it will be when the game concludes on Friday night or in the wee hours of Saturday morning here on the East Coast. But West Virginia 2-3, 0-2 in Big 12 play. Got to turn some things around. You're looking for a spark, and the quarterback position is where this discussion seems to always be centered, as always. But you have Nicco Marchiol still out on the shelf and appears to be out for several weeks. So now the attention turns to Jaylen Henderson, Khalil Wilkins, Max Brown, Scotty Fox. Who's going to be that guy? Well, as we record today, Rich Rod says that Jaylen Henderson and Max Brown are a little banged up. They'll be limited throughout the week. They expect both of them to be available. But does that mean Khalil Wilkins gets his first career start? That is a big, big task for a redshirt freshman to go on the road against this type of team in that environment on a short week to make your first career start. We'll see if it happens, but I do expect him to play. Let's go ahead and get into what his first performance was, I guess. It wasn't really his first, but his first true burn. What did you think of the way Khalil played on Saturday and what he can maybe bring to this offense?
I thought he added some excitement. I can tell you this, he can definitely throw the ball. That's for sure. He can sling that thing. Obviously, he's a willing runner, okay? And in this offense, you have to be that. I like his skill set, to be honest with you. It's a little sample size of what he can do. I'm looking forward to seeing more, but I was pretty impressed with what I saw, to be honest with you. I think the offense fits him. I think he can definitely strive. He can strive to be really, really good in this offense. And most quarterbacks with his skill set, usually they're successful. So I don't see anything that would tell me that he would not be successful if he were to be the starter.
Yeah, he did some pretty nice things in that game. There was a couple of throws he'd like to have back. Obviously, he overthrew Jeff Weimer, and that would have probably been a touchdown. He short-armed a pass to Ryan Ward, who was wide open over the middle of the field. That would have been another touchdown. So you'd like to have those two throws back. But as I mentioned in the post-game show and on Between the Ears on Sunday, that one throw on the comeback route to Jeff Weimer right in front of Utah's sideline, he short armed it, didn't have enough mustard on it, but the timing, the decision to pull the trigger when he did, and the ball placement on it, it was elite. I mean, Jeff wasn't even on his way back yet, and he already had that thing out of his hand. I mean, it was just a perfectly timed throw, just didn't have enough on it. But there were some things in that game where you could see the flash, the potential, and why they're so excited about him because to be honest, there's a couple of plays where he would flush out to his left, and you would think there'd be nothing there to either make something happen with his legs, or he would extend the play and then throw a ball down the field. And that's just something that hasn't really existed in this offense so far this year. I think that the passing game is still coming along. There's obviously some things you want to clean up there, but it's not like he can't make the throw. I think sometimes, Gene, and I'm speaking for maybe Khalil here and maybe some other quarterbacks because I only played the quarterback position for maybe a year in Pee Wee, but and then they moved me and said, nope, you're a tight end. But I think sometimes, speaking as a tight end, those throws from a quarterback they can almost be too wide open that you get too antsy, too excited. Your eyes get so big and wide, and you think, "Oh, this is so easy. I got it right in the bucket." And then you either don't have enough on it, you overthrow it in some instances. So I think that's kind of to be expected when you have that first actual chance to go prove yourself. And I think now you've got that under your belt. You have that tape to learn from. You have more reps under your belt this week, assuming that Jaylen and Max are maybe not going to be taking as many reps. So we'll see. But in terms of who starts this game, I don't really know. I think it makes sense if Jaylen Henderson is healthy that you roll him out there. He did not play great against Utah. Let me be first and foremost about that. But he's got the experience, and you have to be very careful, Gene, when you talk about a young quarterback and how fragile these guys are. It's not like a defensive end or a safety or a receiver who can bounce back from those types of things. A quarterback, if you put him in there in a situation he's not ready for, you can ruin him. What do you think about the possibility or the realistic chances here that Khalil gets his first start on a short week against this team on the road?
Listen, I agree with you. I think if Henderson is remotely healthy, I think you start him because again, he does have the experience. This is not foreign to him being in this situation.
And we're not saying that he's going to play every snap. Khalil's going to get in too.
That's what I mean. So if I'm going to go that route, I would definitely start Henderson if he's healthy enough to play. And I think Khalil will come in and spell him. I think that's probably more likely the scenario. And I think that's probably the best scenario that West Virginia can hope for in a short week, especially going into that kind of environment. You do not want to throw a redshirt freshman in that type of environment with his first start.
Throwing him to the wolves, baby.
I just think it's a difficult thing to do, and it's a lot to ask, of someone. This is your very first start. Now, again, you hear me say it 100 times. This is why you come to West Virginia. This is why you come to these big programs, because you want that opportunity. But nevertheless, it still is a tough task. Heck, it'll be a tough task for Henderson to go into that situation. So unless you've had a year under your belt where you've been the full-time starter, would this not make sense to put someone in that's had, more experience than Khalil in this situation?
Right.
And to your point again, making sure that Khalil's going to play. We know that he's going to play. I'm not sure if this is the game that you start him if you don't have to. It's a little bit different when you kind of phase him in and bring him in versus here you go, kid. This is your ball.
Good luck. It's a top 15 defense in about every category out there. Go have fun.
Right? Yeah. It's just, hey, go have at it.
And look, the thing with this situation too is you also have the open date coming up. So you don't want him to go out there and put up a stinker, and you don't have maybe the help around him from the offensive line, the running backs, the receiving core, whatever, and it's a bad game, and now he's got to sit with that for 2 weeks. That's a whole different situation, a different ball game that you don't want to be playing in terms of, kind of boosting his confidence up or trying to prevent it from tanking. So, look, he's going to play. They've played multiple quarterbacks every game. and it's a matter of how much he's going to play rather than if he's going to play. But like you said, if Jalen's healthy, I think you start him. It's not
Yeah.
we're not saying Jalen's got a higher ceiling or that he is better than Khalil Wilkins. It's just you've got to be very smart about these situations. You have a guy that's a fifth-year senior that's seen a lot of football, may have not started a ton of games, but he's been around the block for a while now. He's seen a lot of things. It makes sense. We'll talk about what happens if Khalil starts later in the show when we get to the preview. But I want to talk about this before we get into all that stuff, Gene, and that is Rich Rod talking about national championships. Boy, isn't that kind of refreshing? Like, look, I know we can sit here and say, that's coach speak or whatever, but it's been a long time since we've heard the head coach of the Mountaineers in football talk about a national championship. Whether the base or the national media believes that's a feasible thing or not, you have to have that mindset. I think we even mentioned this when he was first hired and he talked about national championships. He said on Monday that this team's going to be better in a month from now than they are right now. They're going to be better in 2 years than they are right now, and 3 years and so on. But by year 5, now I don't know if we're going to really hold him firmly to this or not, but he says he expects this team to be playing for a national championship by year 5 or in year 5.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? And do you believe that it can be possible in this era?
Okay, so from the business perspective, for that to happen, for that to line up the way that it needs to line up, you're talking about the ability to recruit. Yeah, and you're talking about the Do Re Mi's, you're talking about the greenbacks, you're talking about the Quam, baby. So for that to happen, yeah, you have to have all of that. So there's no doubt in my mind that Rich has a system. There's no doubt in my mind that he's a visionary. He kind of knows what he wants and what he needs, more importantly, from the recruiting side of it. Offense, defense, special teams, the whole 9 yards, right? In order to do that, you have to have the right finances in place. Okay. So let's go with that first. Let's say he has the right financial situation, the right finances in place. Now you got to go get those players. If Rich gets the players that he needs, starting with the quarterback, the CEO of this offense that he loves to run, and you get the type of linemen that he needs to run this style of offense, and you get 2 horses back there that can tote that thing.
Not one, but two.
Two, right? Now you flip to the defensive side of the ball and you get these headhunters in the back end that's going to knock your block off. You get these linebackers that can run sideline to sideline. You get these D linemen that they can keep pace with what he loves to do offensively, because you got to conversely have that on defense as well. I'm going to say guarantee. I can see within a 4-year window that West Virginia will be vying for a conference championship. And at that point, who knows? Do I think it's feasible? All those things have to fall into place for that prediction to be feasible.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard to do in this era, and it's not impossible. There are going to be teams, there have been teams that have made the playoffs that you probably didn't expect in years past, aka Indiana last year. But the thing is, you have to win multiple games to get to a national championship now. Whereas before, yes, there wasn't as much access because it was just a 2-team thing. There was no playoff. It was just top 2 teams in the country. But you came pretty damn close the first time when it was that formula. And all you had to do, if you got in that game, was just win a game. Now, if you get into it, yes, there's more access, like I said, but depending on where you're seated, you're going to have to win an X amount of games to hoist that national championship trophy. So the thing with this format, I like it and I hate it at the same time, because I think it does give more teams opportunities to get to the CFP, and we all know just getting there is going to help you in the recruiting world and just getting more eyeballs on your program. But the deeper you make a run, I think it almost caters to the teams that can spend more money because you have more depth. And
Absolutely.
that's the same thing whether it's the NBA or the MLB or the NHL where you have 7-game series or best of series. The way they do that, or the reason they do that, is one, it's to get more money, right? You don't want a single elimination thing. The NFL does it, but they're a whole different beast. But these other leagues, they have to find a way to make as much money as possible. So you give them as many opportunities to play games in a series. But more often than not, if you get to a game six or game seven, the team that's got the best talent is probably going to win that series more often than not. And that's kind of the same setup here, even though you're playing different teams in a single game elimination. It's I think it's just going to cater more to those teams, but it is possible. Now, I think like you're more on the right page here. I think it's year 4, year 5, you need to be competing for a Big 12 championship.
Right.
And if you can
Right.
do that, then the other things will come along with it potentially. You're setting
Right.
yourself up to be in a position to be in the CFP. And I do believe that's possible. You're talking about a full high school recruiting cycle that would be under his belt. You'd have much of the roster that would be that would have spent multiple years in this program, developed by these coaches, not bringing in 80 guys that have teachings and stuff from other programs and maybe habits that you can't fix, or maybe not fix. That's not the right word, but maybe you can't create the habits that you want to be in your
Right.
offense or defense. So I think it's possible for sure, but it's not going to be easy. And like you said, you have to have the backing. You don't need to spend Ohio State money. You don't need to spend Georgia money, but you need to be able to scrounge up enough pennies out of the couch to be able to be competitive.
Let me say this to you. Did anybody think Indiana would have done?
No, gosh, no.
So
Oh,
here's my point of reference to that. And the reason why, listen, let me tell you something. I'm a fan of their program. I'm a fan of what they do. I'm a fan of how they go about their business. I'm a fan of how they recruit. Okay. So my point is, and it's a almost a good reference to make because Indiana don't have the kind of pockets that some of these other schools have either. But what
right.
they do have, the staff that they have can recruit. They can recruit their behinds off. And they get the kids who want to be at Indiana. You understand? So it's not so much about the money as much as it is, I want to be developed and coached by certain coaches. And that plays a huge part in this whole system as well. So I believe if it comes down to those things and over the next few years, you get players and things happen. The same way players leave, coaches leave. The same way players hit the portal, well, coaches, they leave for bigger or what they perceive to be bigger and better opportunities. They leave because they think the grass is greener someplace. Whatever the case may be, that's just the nature of this beast, right?
Yeah.
If all of this plays out in West Virginia, the staff goes through whatever nuances they're going to go through, whatever nutrition they're going to go through, and you get the players, you get coaches, whatever the case may be. If all of that happens between the next 3 to 5 year window, and it just kind of erupts into something where Rich can really sink his teeth into how he wants to develop this program, it would not be surprising to me that they are competing for conference championships. They are getting in a situation with CFP. It would not, I'm telling you, Schuyler, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm just saying there's a lot of things that have to fall in line for that to happen.
Yeah. And this year, I mean, we always kind of coin it as year zero, if you will. I mean, you can call it what you want, but this is not, in my opinion, a perfectly painted picture of what's to come. I think this is more of you're kind of taking your punches right now and just kind of rolling with it and just trying to get to December with at least a nucleus of players that you feel like you can build with moving forward. Now, it's not going to be this absurd amount. You're still going to have to go out and get some guys out of the transfer portal. You're still going to have to rely on some true freshmen coming in this upcoming recruiting class to come in and make an impact. But you really need that internal development of some of the guys that are still here and that have multiple years of eligibility remaining. Is that Khalil Wilkins? Is it Malik Agbo? Is it Donovan Haslam on the offensive line as well? Is it Rodney Gallagher? Is it Dior Hubbard? I mean, the list goes on and on. There's guys that have that potential, but at some point, Gene, it needs to stop being potential and it needs to be what they are, and they need to be a key piece of what they're doing moving forward.
You 100% could listen. I say it all the time. You know what potential gets? Know what that'll get you? Potential gets you fired.
Exactly.
Because if that potential is not developed and it never comes to fruition, you get fired.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Because when you add this to it, well, potentially he could have been good. Well, potentially I thought he was going to be a good coach. And next thing you know, you're gone. So for me, it's the probability of getting the right fit, getting the right player, bringing in the right group of people to man this program, I think is more important than what we potentially can hang our hat on. Because I'll say it again, there are programs out here. Kansas is one of them. We talked about Indiana. That's another.
Iowa State in this league, yeah.
State, that's another. When you look at some of these freaking BYU is another. When you look at some of these programs, what do they have? They have solid coaching. They have well-coached football teams. They have kids who want to be in those uniforms. So, again, it's not so much about this. It's about wanting to play and be developed by certain coaches, and they go out and play like their hair is on fire each and every week. That's what we need in Morgantown in terms of bringing in the right student athletes. If I'm talking to a kid and the first thing he's asking me how much money I'm going to make, that ain't my kid.
Click.
We're good.
Next.
Next. Extra stage left. Because I know already, if I bring you here, you're going to be here for one semester and
bounce.
And bounce. You're going to look for the highest bidder. Those are not the kind of student athletes that Morgantown needs. And I'm firm on that. I've always said that even before this type of stuff was rolling, the NIL and the portal. I've always said there's a certain kind of kid that you need to bring to Morgantown, period.
Yeah. And the other piece of this too is I think with the money being spent on the roster, clearly it's not anywhere near the top of the Big 12 this year. Is it ever going to be at the top of the Big 12? No. I mean, they're not spending that oil money that Texas Tech has or anything like that. But you can find a way to be in the top half of this league and maybe even the top 3 or 4 of this league potentially. I don't really know because there's all of these numbers are really behind closed doors. It's not like the NFL where what the Miami Dolphins are spending on their roster or the Los Angeles Chargers. That's just not the case. A lot of this is kept privately, but we already know that the university is going to do their part. They've publicly voiced that they are going to back this athletic department and make sure that they put them in the top tier of the Big 12. And I think with Rich Rod, it's not only being smart with how they use their money in year 1 or year 4 or year 5 or whatever, but it's also going to take time to know how to use this money and use it at West Virginia. It's a little bit different because in year 1 here, yeah, there's 80 new players, but because you have 80 new players, you can't go out and get the number 1 left tackle in the transfer portal because you got to use that money to fill out your damn roster. So
that's right.
As you get more high school recruits in your program and you develop those guys, you get more, I guess, interior guys or whatever the word is, internal guys to be a big part of what you're doing. Then you can start spending a little bit more money at certain positions because you'll have it. You won't be spending it on so many spots. So, yeah, right. It's interesting. We'll see how that all plays out. I think we're all kind of on the same page here. Year 4, year 5, need to be competing for big things, maybe even by year 3. So we will see. Let's go ahead and get into our trivia question here before we get to a break. And it is, in the first ever meeting between West Virginia and BYU, which took place back in 2016 over in D.C., the Mountaineers picked off Taysom Hill with 1 minute to go to seal the deal. Who was it that came away with the game-winning interception? Was it A, Maurice Fleming, B, Nana Kyram, or C, Rasul Douglas? Think on it for just a second, and when we come back, we'll have the answer and dive into this BYU West Virginia preview.
Let's go, Mountaineer Nation. The final whistle might blow, but the real breakdown is just getting started. Join us right after every WVU game for the Mountaineer Post-Game Show. Instant analysis, real talk, and zero fluff. What went right, what went wrong, and what's next. We've got it all for you. Hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, and be part of the conversation. Win, lose, or draw, we're breaking it all down for you, Mountaineer style.
Want the most accurate updates on the West Virginia Mountaineers? Visit West Virginia on SI, the most trusted source on everything WVU. Several stories published every morning, every day before your feet hit the ground. From football, basketball, baseball, recruiting, transfer portal news, and more, we have it all for you. Every angle, every update, every morning. Welcome back. It is the Walk Thru GameDay Show presented by West Virginia on SI. Eugene, Napoleon, and Schuyler Callihan here, and let's go and reveal our trivia answer for this week. The question was, in the first ever meeting between West Virginia and BYU, Taysom Hill was picked off with 1 minute left to seal the deal. Who was it that came away with that game-winning interception and shut the door on the Cougars? Was it Maurice Fleming, Nana Kyram, or Rasul Douglas? Gene, what say you?
It's funny because all three of them played well. They all had decent games, so this is kind of hard to pick from. But let me share this little tidbit before I give you my answer.
Okay.
So Nana came in with my son Brandon. They were the same freshman class, so it was kind of cool. Great kid. So it's kind of cool to see his name in this mix.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say, if I can remember correctly, Maurice Fleming.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I think that's 3 or 4 in a row for you now, Gene. You're on a heater, baby. You're on a heater.
Yeah.
Maurice thing, I don't know. But, yeah, BYU was charging down the field. They had 2 opportunities down 35-32. Made a couple of plays in the passing game to get down there and throw it near the end zone. Nana Kyram tips it up. Maurice Fleming with the game-winning pick to seal the deal. So, all right. It is time for our Napoleon's Dynamite, our West Virginia player to watch for the week. Gene, who's bringing it this weekend?
Listen, and we are definitely going to need everybody to play well on this side of the ball, and I'm going defense again.
Hey.
I'm going to go with a DB.
Okay.
I'm going with, Mr. Michael Colts. I think he's going to have to play well. I think he's going to have, maybe not double-digit tackles, but close to it. It would be nice to get a pick. That would be nice. But I really think, all jokes aside, he's going to have to play well. The whole defense is going to have to play well. But we need a standout performance for Michael Colts if we're going to have a chance to win this football game.
Yeah, he's going to have a tough assignment. I would assume it's going to be Chase Roberts, their leading receiver. Michael Coates has been really – this has become our favorite thing to say on the show. And this is completely G-rated, by the way, but we like to say that he's played sticky all year on the defensive side. But, all right, anyways, moving on before we get in trouble here. The players to watch for this week's game, as you heard Gene say there with Michael Coates. The other player for West Virginia on the offensive side, I'm going to give a little love to the big fellas here, Gene. I'm going Malik Agbo, the right tackle, who may not even start in this game. So I'm going with a little bit of a bold prediction here. But I loved what I saw out of Malik last week in his first extended playing time. If you remember the big run by Gerard Bowie, the big 60-yard gain, he was the one that was blocking down the field, just lit up the guy in the secondary, really allowed that thing to spring free. So Malik Agbo, don't know if he'll start over Tykees Crawford, but I would expect him now to be a part of that offensive line rotation. As far as BYU is concerned, offensively, we're going to go with running back L.J. Martin. He is the third leading rusher in the Big 12 with 400 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. We'll get into why that is problematic here in a second. Defensively, we're going to go with linebacker Jack Kelly, 19 tackles, 11 pressures, 7 TFLs, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble. Very active on that side of the ball. So let's go ahead and start here in our game preview with BYU's offense and West Virginia's defense. And look at this. How about let's just start with the most obvious thing here. Let's address the elephant in the room here, Gene. And that is the quarterback, Bear Bachmeier. Not only has a great name, but wears the number 47. let's start there. Have you ever seen a quarterback wear a number in the 40s in the college game? I know Doug Flutie was, what, 20-something? But
Yeah,
in the 40s? That's pretty
I,
bold.
I have not. I have not, which means, yeah, you got to be very confident to do that. You got to be very confident. And I've watched him play. I watched him play listen, he could do some things. I just hope he doesn't do too many things to us.
Yeah. Yeah, he can definitely do some things. He's a gamer. I mean, I watched the Colorado game. That was really the only game I watched. I usually try to watch two of them, but that was the only one I felt like I could get a really good read on. Stanford and Portland State and East Carolina, like, no disrespect to them, but not going to probably learn too much there. But every time that there was an RPO attached, I mean, you could see Colorado was fearful that he was going to pull it and just take off and do something. And it's not that he's got the breakaway speed. He doesn't have the Khalil Wilkins speed. He doesn't probably even have the Jaylen Henderson speed. More of the, what's a good comparison for him? Schuyler Howard type of speed, but very
That's
similar in that he runs that way too. He runs kind of angry, but also very calculated. He's not going to just completely lower his shoulder, but he can run physically. He's a
right.
scrapper. He's going to fight for every yardage that he can get. He can make things happen in the pass game. A very, very talented young kid. He's a true freshman. You can see why they're high on him. And to
Yeah.
be honest with you, maybe an upgrade over Jake Retzloff, who was going to start for them again this year and then hit the portal.
I would agree with that. I think probably because he can do a little bit more in the run game. And if you can do a little bit more in the run game and their style of offense, obviously it opens up the passing game, which could be problematic because they do have some weapons to spread the ball around to. And BYU, I've watched BYU over the years. Again, they are a well-coached football team, and they are going to play just hard-nosed football for every second that's on that clock. So it doesn't they're always in a football game because of the style of play. They're a very physical team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and that alone keeps them in a lot of football games.
What West Virginia's defense saw last week with Utah's O-line, much of what you're going to get this week. It's a very physical group. They take so much pride in being strong in the trenches. And that's probably why the BYU Utah rivalry game is so fun to watch every year, because it's just a bunch of big dudes fish fighting it out up front. It's a lot of fun to watch. But as far as Bear Bachmeier is concerned, we try to look at some of the things that maybe West Virginia can exploit. But to be honest with you, like, he's been pretty good. And it's not that they've asked him to do a bunch, but what he has done is just be consistent, play clean football. You look at all the different kind of concepts that they run with him, play action or screen, no play action, no screen, whatever. It's a pretty healthy diet. There's not like one thing that they rely on, but it's also healthy in terms of completion percentage. You look up and down, play action versus non-play action, 64%, 69%, screen, no screen, 86, 61%. There's not one area where he's really having troubles. Now, the no screen game, I mean, I don't really look at that because that's a whole lot of things that can happen there. But when you look at his pressure statistics here, we're not even going to talk about under pressure. He's 7 of 15. I guess I just did, but the point is every quarterback struggles under pressure. We always hit on that, but I always look at what these guys do when they're kept clean, when they're not blitzed, when they are blitzed. Try to figure out where is an area West Virginia can kind of hammer in on. And to be honest, there isn't one. That's a problem. When he is blitzed, he is 22 of 32, and 5 of his 6 touchdown passes have come when the defense brings the pressure. So when you talk about a team that likes to dial it up like West Virginia and has probably had a little bit of trouble getting to the quarterback these last couple of weeks because of Jaylen Daniels' escapability at Kansas, and then you had the offensive line of Utah, they're going to be foaming at the mouth trying to get a sack in this game. BYU's only allowed 1 sack all year.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah. So when you talk about this dynamic in this matchup, what has to happen for West Virginia to get home? And even if it's not bringing Bear Bachmeier down, because it's only happened one time,
Right.
How do you dial up that pressure to get those remember me shots and stuff like that to really affect the pass game?
Well, the part that has to happen first off is when this young man is blitzed, like you said, he can be lethal. And again, that's because they are so well coached. That means he knows where he's going with the ball immediately. He's not thinking, he knows exactly where he's going with the ball if you blitz him. So that part, this is why you have to disguise what you're doing in the back end. You have to some stunts up front. You have to be very creative with your stunts up front to get to him. And the key is if you're creative with your stunts up front and you're creative with disguising what you're doing in the back end, I think you have a better chance of confusing him a little bit and frustrating him a little bit. And we all know quarterbacks that throw on rhythm and throw on time, if you get them out of sync, you have a much better chance of maybe getting the pick, maybe him throwing the ball, in the turf, maybe him throwing the ball a little bit higher off target where we can get an opportunity at the ball. Those are the things that has to happen. So, West Virginia has their work cut out for him because he's a kid that, like I said, under pressure, he seems to play better when you do pressure him.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, like I said, we have to be really creative with what we're doing up front to try to confuse him as best we can.
And for the third straight week, I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's at least of late it's been a problem, and that's neutralizing the run game. The first
Yes.
3 games of the season, West Virginia's defense against the run was pretty decent, but the last 2 games, they've allowed 242 yards each, both 242 to Kansas, 242 to Utah. Those first 3 games, they only allowed a combined 282.
Right.
BYU is averaging 250 a game. That's ninth in the country.
No.
Again, if you want a chance to stay in this game and pull off this miraculous upset, you're going to have to slow LJ Martin down, which good luck. He's the third leading rusher in the Big 12, over 7 yards a carry. And it's going to come back to another thing that we have continued to harp on. I feel like I've copied and pasted some of these notes here for the last couple of weeks. The missed tackles. And just when I think that it can't get worse, this past weekend was just atrocious. 24 missed tackles against Utah. That is a season high and probably one of the worst performances in terms of tackling that we've seen in a while. That has got to get cleaned up. And how do you fix that? In the middle of a season when your defense is kind of in a bit of a lull and you're on a short week and you can't really do a whole lot in a short week. I don't know. It spells trouble to me.
It does, but again, listen, those are reps and those are things that come out when you're frustrated and when you have to pay attention to detail. And those are form fitting and form hitting tackling drills that you have to do. And those are things that you don't necessarily have to bring the guy to the ground to do. When we're talking about form, we're literally talking about spending a little bit more time on the form to make sure when you do, you got to wrap up. It's not so much the big bow, the big boom and hit. It's you have to follow through the hit. You have to wrap up. We missed a lot. Your head and your placement of where you are is not good. So therefore, you could see a guy, his head is in one area, his body is someplace else, and he's getting ran through. Or your arm tackling. These big backs and these backs that run physical, you're not going to arm tackle a physical runner. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, if the guy weighed 180 pounds or if he weighed 230, you know what I mean? You really have to form fit this guy and wrap him up and get him to the ground. So those are things that you can do, but it's going to take more time and practice to work on some of those things. And like you said, you're doing this on a short week. So that's where a lot of film work comes in. That's where a lot of, again, attention to detail comes in. That's where a lot of scouting. How do these guys run? Some of these guys, are they high knee guys if they're backs? Are they low to the ground type guys? Are they athletic enough where I go to cut him low, he's going to hop over me? These are things that's film work on top of the physical part of it, but that's also film work.
Yeah. A couple of guys that I think are going to be key also is Nick Taylor, the cornerback, defensive back. Really had a breakout game this past week. It was probably the only bright spot of the defense, in my opinion. Made a couple of really hard hits, had the interception, which Not going to take anything away from him. It was, he did make the play, but it was kind of right there for him. Devin Dampierre kind of put it on a silver platter there for him, but he did make a lot of other plays in that game that really impressed me. Rich Rod got his attention as well. But Jamori Robinson, I mean, it's his 2 games now. It's still early in he's still getting his feet wet, but hasn't really quite got in the box score just yet. What the
Right.
heck is going on here with Jamori Robinson? How do you get him uncorked and get him, actually affecting the pass game? I know last week maybe it's just a factor of a Utah's offensive line week in the game before that against Kansas, just him getting his feet wet. But do you feel like there's any level of concern right there for Jamori?
Shape. Yeah. I mean, he's gonna have to. Well, he's gonna have to get himself going. He seems to be a self-starter in terms of. I'm not sure how much motivation he really needs.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I'm probably looking at a breakout game for him or a much needed breakout game for him. And if we need it at any particular point in time, it will be this game. It will be this game. So if he has to get going, he has to get going against BYU. So,
Yeah.
and then you move on from there. So I'm hoping that he's up for the task and up for the challenge because Schuyler, let me say it this way, man. If West Virginia doesn't play well up front, it's going to spell all kind of problems in that back end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it really is.
which is tough because that's the one unit that you've been able to really hang your hat on with Michael Coates, Jordan Scruggs,
Yeah.
Jason Chambers, Fred Perry, and now Nick Taylor.
But here's the deal. They can't cover forever.
Yeah. You got to get home at some point.
You got to get home at some point. Absolutely.
So let's spin the block here. West Virginia offense, BYU defense. And I guess before we do, I was trying to find a way for West Virginia to win this game after watching that Colorado tape. And to me, it's just hanging around in the first half and making something happen offensively. And that's very obvious. But for this offense, it's not so obvious, right? This has been an offense that's really struggled to get going in the first half of games. A lot of three and outs to start. Not saying you have to go down and punch in a touchdown on the opening drive or get 3 on the opening drive, but you've got to put points on the board. And that's the one thing Colorado did. They got out to, I think, a 14-0 or 14-3 lead. They kind of ran the ball. They actually didn't kind of. They ran the ball really well, even with the quarterback, Caden Salter, which makes you believe that if Khalil Wilkins is the starter or Jaylen Henderson or one of those guys, you're going to have a chance as long as they can get going in the run game. They have a running back room that can complement it. You expect Sincere Bowers to be back this week. He was in concussion protocol last week. Ty Edwards might be back this week, so that could also help. But I go back to that game, and really kind of where it fell apart for Colorado was in the first half, BYU's defense, they allowed 129 rushing yards in the first half alone. The second half, they shut things down. They only allowed 44. That was their adjustment. BYU's offense, they didn't have success a bunch on third downs like you would expect, but they went 2 of 2 on fourth down and nearly doubled up Colorado in time of possession and outsnapped them 36-20. So that's the key is getting not obviously getting your defense off the field, but I feel like you have enough confidence that you'll hold up that end of the bargain. But the offense has got to get going. They've got to sustain more drives. That's why I'm saying it doesn't necessarily have to end in 6 all the time, but you've got to find a way to stay on the field, keep the defense off it. The first thing I want to point out is the defensive third down rate and West Virginia's offensive third down rate. So lost it here. BYU, 7th in the nation, 24% on third downs. West Virginia, 27% on third down. So that's not an ideal matchup there. You've got to be able to find a way to flip that, go against the odds there, go against the trends, and maybe get in that 35 to 40% range or higher. Now, if you get more than 40% on third downs, then you're probably in a really good spot to pull the upset.
Absolutely. And here's the other catch 22. It's what you said earlier about being able to sustain some drives to help your defense out. We have not been able to do that consistently. So going, it's a late kickoff, you're going high in altitude. It's going to be a lot of different things that for certain players at WVU that if you haven't experienced that, it's going to be a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
But sticking to the offensive side of the ball, I think this is going to sound crazy, but I know Rich likes to go fast, 20 to 25 first down, right? If you're going to do anything this week, I think he's going to have to slow that tempo down just a little bit because he has three different phases of that tempo that he runs. Get it somewhere in the middle where you're giving your linemen, actually your whole offensive unit, some time to breathe. Because you're high in that altitude, that's going to be problematic. So I think he's going to have to think about these things as the game goes on. BYU is used to it. This is their home, so they're used to it. So I'm not sure, and this is how integral the game is. When you have to think about things like that, right? That has to factor into how you're calling your plays. And once if you can get BYU on the ropes, you got to keep them there. You can't let up. You got to keep them there because they do just enough. They make just enough plays to beat you if it's a close game. So that's the point of reference. I don't know if we let them hang around, if this is going to be, something that's going to be beneficial for us to let them hang around. You got to jump on them and stay on them.
Yeah, and the one thing that also translates from last week is the red zone defense. BYU is one of the best in the country. They're 32nd in terms of percentage, which is good. It's not as good as what Utah was, but they're also not allowing you to get down there very often. Going into that game last week, Utah only had 5 red zone trips allowed on them on the season. BYU's only at 9. So what that means is you're going to have some explosive plays happen, both run and pass game. That's going to take maybe Cam Vaughn bursting a big one in the pass game or Khalil Wilkins doing something with his legs. You're going to have something happen out of the running back room. You've got to be able to score it from range because more often than not, this defense is not going to allow you to get down in there to where you're knocking on the door. So more on this BYU defense, the linebackers, like we already talked about Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, Siali Acera, another guy as well. They're the heart and soul of this defense, and it's kind of been that way for a while with BYU. The linebacking play has just been phenomenal over the years. The names go on and on, but this group in particular, very fast, very physical, really get after you. You can tell that they're the leaders of the group. And when you look at this defense statistically, I mean, they're top 15 in just about everything. I mean, we talked about third down defense. They're 7th. Rushing yards allowed, they're 8th. Passing yards allowed, they're 14th. They have 10 sacks on the year, which isn't a great number, but still, they're showing that they can hold up in the back end. It's a tough thing to find an answer or the perfect recipe to have success against this defense. So for West Virginia, let's start with this. The running game. We mentioned a minute ago, Sincere Bowers seems like he should be back. Ty Edwards, probably another game time decision if I had to guess. But if you get one or two of those guys back, how much does it change the dynamic for you offensively?
Oh, instant. It instantly changes the dynamic because both those guys are home run guys. So, and both those guys, if you put them in the pass game, the screen game, or the quick passes out of the backfield, there's some things that can happen where you can generate some big plays.
Yeah.
Again, because they're home run type guys. And anytime you get a skilled player, be it in the receiver room or the running back room that can do that for you and that can provide those type of home run plays, that's beneficial, especially on the road, especially against a defense like BYU's, especially in this type of scenario. You need one or both of those type of guys, and hopefully they're both back. Because it will really help the offense. It'll help to boost the offense, and it will also help quarterback play. Because if both those guys are there and they're spelling each other, right?
You have to respect both options.
Got to respect both options, and they're different types of runners. But again, they're home run guys. You have to respect that. So if they're both back, that spells that's a good omen for West Virginia. And it's definitely something good for the quarterback because you can hand that thing off. And, if you can get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, woof, how much pressure does that take off your quarterback? So I'm
I
hoping
mean, a
that
ton, especially if it's the youngster. It's his first game. You've got to win on first down. This team has not done it nearly enough. That's why they're constantly in these third and longs, and that's why you have the third down percentage you have. It's hard to convert third and 7 or third and 8 or third and 9 all the time. I mean, that's why you see the percentage clip at whatever it was, 27% or so.
right.
But also wanted to note too the red zone thing with BYU. They don't let you get down there, but if you do get down there, you got to like your chances because West Virginia is one of 13 teams in the entire country who are still perfect in scoring in the red zone, but they have the third fewest attempts of those 13 getting down there. So that explains why the points haven't been coming along in bunches as you would expect. So to the quarterback spot. Let's go ahead and talk about Khalil here, and then we'll start kind of breaking down into our picks. But if Khalil does get the start, I think we're on the same page. If Jaylen is in a decent enough spot, you'd probably ideally like to see him start. But
Right.
if Khalil does get the nod, what has to happen for him to have success? And that's play calling, that's protection, that's whatever the scheme is. Like what has to happen? What is the game plan if you're Rich Rodriguez, what are you doing to make sure that he can be in the best position possible?
If I know I'm going to start him, right, we're going to sit down and we're going to script what are your plays? And what does that mean? That means what are the plays that you feel comfortable running? We're going to script those plays first because I want you to be totally comfortable in this offense and how we're going to call this offense to suit your best abilities, right? In the pass game first, we'll do that first. We're going to script those plays first. In the run game, what do you like to run? We're going to do that. I'm going to marry those two together. And if those are, let's say, a good 15 to 20 plays, I'm going to now piece that together in different formations for you. That's what I'm going to do. Because I want my play sheet to be as closely mirrored to what you do best for this particular game. Because that's how in sync we have to be, me as the play caller and you as the play receiver. Because I
Yeah.
can't have it where I'm calling something and you're looking at me like a deer in headlights and it's 3rd and 4
And it's
and
loud
I'm
as
giving you
hell.
something right. And I'm giving you something that you're really not comfortable with. I need to know when it's 3rd and 4, we scripted something that you are really comfortable with because the probability of you getting that because of your comfortability is really good. So for me, that will be my game plan with him.
I think you're going to have to run the ball 50 plus times. And it might, I mean, I'm just being honest. Khalil might be 15 or 20 of those carries. So it's not like he's not going to be non existent. But I think that's part of, getting into those manageable situations to where you're on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. You don't need to be airing it out on first down a bunch. You do need to do it some, obviously. You don't want to be predictable. But I think when you're in a game like this, if he does start, you don't want him dropping back 30 plus times. I think you want to keep it as simplistic as possible.
Right.
Give him a lot of easy completions, a lot of stuff in the RPO game, so that way there is the ability or the option to run or give it, to running back if there's nothing there in the pass game. But I think if you can run the ball 50 plus times with success, I should say, not
Right.
50 times and averaging 2.2 yards a carry, but if
Right.
you do have success and you run it 50 plus times, you could be putting yourself in a good position. So that's
Believe
what I'm looking for. And plus, he's
that.
so dynamic with his feet that
Mhm.
some of those carries can be manufactured that way too. It doesn't have to be quarterback design. He can make things happen if something breaks down in the pass game.
Oh, well, listen, there's no doubt about it. He has that ability, but I'm going to tell you, comfortability with a young quarterback is a high probability. This is what most, when you look at the NFL level, that's exactly what they do. Why do you think the Giants went back to Ole Miss to talk about, what did he do well there? they started taking some of the Ole Miss offense and putting it into what they do with the New York Giants. You know why? Because of again, the comfortability of it all. And he knows what he likes to do. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, if you just throw him in and you don't do that, you're playing into, I'm not really sure about this. And you can't have a quarterback going out and thinking more so than just reacting. It has to be fluid.
Yeah, and again, when you have a defense that's top 15 in virtually every category, you don't want to have him making these really elaborate decisions. You want to make it as simple as possible. Couple of reads and go. It's not scanning the field twice and trying to find something there, throwing the ball deep downfield into coverage. Like, you don't want those things to happen. You're going to have explosive in the pass game. You're going to have to.
I did that with my quarterbacks when I coached. I sat down and I scripted 20 plays. I scripted 20 plays, in his wristband. And I made sure, like I said, we can go flipping the formations, but they were 20 core plays that he was really comfortable with. And let me tell you something, we won a lot of games. I'm going to say that. We won a lot of games. A lot of people thought, now when Brandon played for me, Brandon was a tailback.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until he moved up that they realized that, he's a quarterback, Nap. He can sling that thing. So, and he's smart. So we could do some things. And I'm like, okay, cool. When he played for me, he had 2,000-yard seasons. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because he can run and all of that stuff. He made people miss. But I understood scripting plays for the then quarterback that I had was important, because once I got him comfortable, we were able to the offense just rolled. So I'm looking for one same with Khalil. I think if he's going to start, if he's the guy, make him comfortable, and I think good things will happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be quite the night at that quarterback spot. As we've seen, multiple guys have been rotated in there every single week. So wouldn't be surprised if we see 3 guys again this weekend against Utah. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into our pick'ems. And Gene, I caught up some ground on you, my guy. We are now tied at 10-15. That's a sparkling record right there for both of us.
Jesus.
Yeah, 4-1 for me last week, 2-3 for you. So let's go ahead and start it. And yes, there's somebody in the comments, I can't remember the handle off the top of my head, that's been getting after saying, hey, put more Big 12 games in here, because that's what we want. We want to hear more of the Big 12 games, since that's something that's in our league. We're listening to you. And we're going to do that here with Iowa State at Cincinnati, kicking off at noon on ESPN2. This was one I immediately thought upset. And then I started thinking about it a little bit more carefully and thought, Cincinnati had that game against Nebraska earlier in the season. And obviously that was a neutral site, but it was more of a road game. This is going to be a home game for them. But I didn't love the way they played in that game. And I have a kind of similar feeling that that's how this game's going to pan out. Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa State had a tough, slobber knocker game in that one. They found a way to pull it out. Iowa State, I think, has that DNA in them to find a way to win these types of games. I don't know that Cincinnati's there just quite yet. Brent Sorsby's talented, but against this John Heacock defense, I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to go with the Cyclones getting the win on the road.
See, it was all in my head, bro. All in my head. I was thinking the same exact thing for the same exact reasons. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think Iowa State, they know what they're doing. They play well. They're a gritty football team, well-coached team. Cincinnati, I don't think it's quite there yet. I do agree. I'm the same exact thing. I got Iowa State.
Now moving into the SEC, number 16, Vandy at number 10, Alabama, 3:30 on ABC. Vanderbilt took down the Crimson Tide last year, and it shocked everybody in college football. But I feel like this would be a much bigger win for Vanderbilt, because now this is hey, we have officially arrived. This is not just a one-time thing. Last year wasn't just a one-hit wonder where they won some games. This was a really, hey, we arrived moment, and if you do it at Bryant-Denny Stadium, hats off to you. But I don't see it happening here, Gene. The Crimson Tide coming off that win against Georgia in the Hedges, I think they roll. I don't think this is a hangover spot for them. I think they found some of what they want to do. Ty Simpson really good last week too. So I'm going to go with Alabama.
Yeah, and it's funny. At first, I was looking at this thing and I was like, what? Can Vandy do it 2 years in a row? It's like, nah. Let's pump our brakes a little bit. Alabama's at home as well, coming off that big win, with Georgia. I agree with you. I think Alabama found something. I think they found more of who they are. So I hate to say it. I'm gonna go with the Crimson Tide. Roll, baby, roll. I'm gonna go with them. So Alabama in this one.
Back in the Big 12, we got number 11 Texas Tech at undefeated Houston. Weird to say that. 7 p.m. on ESPN. I got to be honest. I'm going to go with the Cougs here, Gene. I think this has got the makings for an upset. That Houston defense is salty. I think this is their chance at a signature win. It's a night game. Texas Tech's probably thinking, it's just the same old Houston, even though they don't really have much room to talk. They're still trying to prove that they're actually worth talking about too. But Texas Tech coming off a big win a couple of weeks ago against Utah, had some time to sit around on it. I think this is a tricky spot for Texas Tech. So I don't think they're going to run the table and go undefeated. This is the one that they could drop.
Wow. Well, here's where we differ.
Hey, I'll take it. I'm going to call my shot here.
That oil money, boy, that oil money spins big. So, I think Texas Tech is looking. I don't think they're looking past anybody. I think they totally do respect and understand that Houston can and will upset them if they don't go in with the right mindset. I think Texas Tech will win, and I think it won't even be close.
In the ACC, we've got number 3 Miami and number 16 Florida State at 7:30 on ABC. You got Miami coming off the win over Florida, which doesn't really say much, of course, because that program's in disarray right now. And then you have Florida State coming off the double overtime loss to Virginia last week. This is a really tough one. I'm going to go with the Seminoles here, Gene. I think they can get the upset. They're going to be ticked off from the way they played defensively last week. They let that game they let the Cavs just hang around, and it ended up biting them. So I think they find a way to get back in the win column here. Tommy Castellanos tossing that thing all over the yard for the Seminoles, getting the win.
Listen, man, I like Castellanos. That he's a baller. I love them at BC or whatever the case may be. I don't care how pissed off they are. Give me them Canes, baby. Give me them Canes. Give me Poyser. Okay, give me my All-American Poyser. That boy, that safety down there, that playing greasy at Miami. Oh yeah, he's going to have something to say about this game. He's going to have a big game. So give me Miami.
All right, now it is the game that you're all here for, and it's the one that starts before all of these other games that we just talked about. That is West Virginia at BYU, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kick. We're going to stay up late for this one. Do the Mountaineers have enough to go in and knock off number 23 BYU on the road on Friday night? Here's Rich Rodriguez.
They're really athletic. I mean, they've got some big, strong guys up front, but they're as athletic at linebacker as I've seen all year with anybody. So been really impressed with them. Play really hard. They're coached well. They understand their system, but they have some length and they do some different stuff defensively. So it's as good a group of linebacker and athletic DN types as we've seen. A late game, as you know, which will be, we have to be smart in how we do our guys on the travel and get them ready for a 10:30 Eastern time clock game. But need to play. The last game is over. Try to get better and learn from what we did in our last game, which wasn't good, and get ready to play a top 25 team on the road. And I've been there, but never for a game. So I heard the environment can be pretty loud, so we're preparing for that as well.
All right, so it's the Mountaineers, the Cougars. It's a late kick on Friday night, and West Virginia's in a really tough spot here. They've been outscored 89-24 in their first 2 Big 12 games. You were the first one to point that out to me. I knew it was bad. I knew it was a lot to a little, but you ended up putting it to fruition there with the 89-24 thing. And I just can't get there. I'm still struggling to find a way to even think West Virginia has much of a chance in this game. I thought there was a lot of things to like in the matchup against Kansas. That obviously didn't work out. Last week against Utah, I didn't think there was much to be excited about as a potential win, but I thought there was a couple areas they could have exploited. They didn't do that. They played probably their worst game of the year. So the fact that I don't feel good about any of this makes me think maybe something does happen. But no, I'm going to go with BYU taking care of business at home, sending West Virginia into the bye week on a 3-game losing streak.
Let me tell you something. And I never thought in a million years that I would agree with you on any of this stuff when it comes to this. And you know what's so funny? I still don't. I'm going to go with no. I thought I was going to say it. No. Unfortunately, this will be my second week in a row going against my Mountaineers.
Is that a first? That might be a Walk Thru GameDay Show history right there.
I think it is. I think it is. And you know what it is? I just think that the climb is just too steep. And right now there's too many things.
Don't be bringing up no trust in any climbs or anything.
No, sir. I just think, unfortunately, it's just too much to overcome right about now. And I think Rich Rod and that staff and that team is going to have to get into the bye week and really figure some things out. And unfortunately, they're going to probably go into that bye week with a 3-game losing streak, like you said. And I hate going against my Mountaineers. We bleed, gold and blue in this house. But unfortunately, it's just too much to overcome. I think BYU has too much going right now.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. It's just one of those years, and maybe things turn. Maybe we get surprised here this Friday night, but we'll see how it all unfolds late Friday night. And we will be here to recap it all on the Mountaineer Postgame Show. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our page. We greatly appreciate it. It's easy to do. It's free. It doesn't cost you a damn penny, so please, we're begging you, give us a subscription, please. And
there you go.
Also, for that post-game show, we will have it up as soon as we can. I know it's a late-at-night thing. We understand most of you may turn the game off at some point because you need to get some Z's. And if the game gets out of hand, we don't blame you. But we'll still have it up there. And if you have that subscribed button clicked on your YouTube page there for us, you'll get that notification the minute we drop it. And we'll also have the morning after on Saturday morning. We usually do that on Sunday, of course. But with the adjusted schedule, we're going to have it Saturday morning. So if you go to sleep early, don't worry. You can get up, grab your cup of coffee, make a bowl of cereal, and you can sit there and watch the post-game show and also the morning after on Between the Eers. So we'll have that double-dip action for you here coming up in the next couple of days. So thank you guys for watching another episode, another week of the Walk Thru GameDay Show. Programming note as well, no show next week. We'll have Between the Eers Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday as normal, and we'll get back to it, previewing West Virginia and UCF 2 Wednesdays from now here on the show. So for Eugene, Napoleon, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys here in a couple of days. Take care.